Ozzy Osbourne, the pain, madness, and legacy of the Prince of Darkness. There are some people who become famous because everything went right for them. And then there are people like Ozzy Osbourne, people who seem to survive everything life could possibly throw at them. Before he became the legendary Prince of Darkness, Ozzy was just a working-class kid from Birmingham, England, trying to find a way out of a difficult life. His childhood wasn't glamorous. His family didn't have much money, and Ozzy struggled in school. He also dealt with dyslexia and felt like he didn't quite fit in. But somewhere inside that confused young man was something powerful. A voice, a personality, and a desire to become somebody. Ozzy was born John Michael Osbourne in 1948. Growing up in post-war Birmingham, life was tough. He left school young and worked a series of ordinary jobs, but none of them felt like his future. Music did. In the late 1960s, Ozzy joined forces with guitarist Tony Iommi, bassist Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward. Together, they created something completely different. They called the band Black Sabbath. And almost immediately, the sound was unlike anything people had heard before. Dark guitar riffs, heavy drums, haunting lyrics, and Ozzy's unmistakable voice sitting right in the middle of it all. In 1970, Black Sabbath released their debut album. The world of rock music was about to change. Songs like Black Sabbath, War Pigs, and Paranoid helped create the foundation of what would become heavy metal. Suddenly, Ozzy wasn't just a guy from Birmingham. He was becoming a star. But success came with a price. As Black Sabbath became more successful, Ozzy's personal life became increasingly chaotic. Drugs, alcohol, exhaustion, arguments, and constant touring began taking their toll. The same man who could command thousands of people from a stage was struggling to control his own life away from it. Eventually, in 1979, Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath. For many people, that would have been the end. Imagine losing the band that helped make you famous. Imagine watching everything you built disappear. But Ozzy wasn't finished. He was broken, but he wasn't finished. With the support of Sharon Arden, who would later become Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy began building a solo career. And somehow, he came back stronger. His 1980 album Blizzard of Oz introduced the world to a new version of Ozzy. The album became a major success, and songs like Crazy Train became timeless rock anthems. But behind the music, Ozzy was still fighting demons. His substance abuse became a serious problem. His behavior became unpredictable. There were moments when his life seemed completely out of control. And yet, he kept getting back on stage. He kept making music. He kept moving forward. Then came one of the strangest moments in rock history. During a concert in 1982, Ozzy bit into what he believed was a rubber bat that had been thrown onto the stage. It wasn't rubber. It was real. The story became part of Ozzy's mythology almost overnight. People began seeing him as something almost supernatural, a wild, unpredictable figure who seemed to exist outside the normal rules of celebrity. But behind the outrageous stories was a human being. A man who struggled. A man who made mistakes. A man who sometimes hurt himself and the people around him. And a man who, for years, battled addiction. Ozzy's journey wasn't a straight line toward success. It was a cycle of falling and getting back up. Again, and again, and again. His solo career continued to produce successful albums and unforgettable songs. He became one of the defining voices of heavy metal, influencing generations of musicians. But perhaps one of the most surprising chapters came decades after his biggest rock hits. In 2002, audiences saw a completely different Ozzy through the reality show The Osbournes. Instead of seeing only the mysterious rock star on stage, millions of people saw Ozzy at home. He was a husband, a father, a sometimes confused, sometimes hilarious, sometimes frustrated human being. The show introduced him to an entirely new generation. People who had never listened to Black Sabbath suddenly knew Ozzy as the strange, lovable dad yelling around the house. And somehow, that made his story even more powerful. Because behind the makeup, the crazy stories, the tattoos, the controversy, and the stage persona was simply a man who had spent his entire life trying to survive himself. Ozzy continued performing and recording music for decades. Even as age and health challenges made life harder, he kept trying to do what he loved. Perform, create, connect with his fans. In 2025, Ozzy reunited with the original Black Sabbath lineup for a special farewell performance in Birmingham. It was an emotional moment. The boy from Birmingham who once felt like an outsider had returned home as a global legend. And that's what makes Ozzy Osbourne's story so extraordinary. He didn't have a perfect life. He didn't always make the right decisions. He wasn't a traditional hero. He was something more complicated. He was human. He fell harder than most people. He made mistakes that could have destroyed him. He lost people. He battled addiction. He faced rejection. He experienced incredible success. And somehow, through all of it, he continued to create. That's why Ozzy's legacy isn't just about heavy metal. It's about survival. It's about the strange possibility that even when you think your story is over, another chapter can still begin. The world called him the Prince of Darkness. But maybe the real story was never about darkness. Maybe it was about finding a little light inside it. Ozzy Osbourne spent decades walking through chaos, but he kept coming back to music. And perhaps that's why his voice still means so much to millions of people. Because somewhere beneath the legend, beneath the wild stories, beneath the fame, there was a man who simply refused to disappear. From a working-class kid in Birmingham, to the frontman of Black Sabbath, to a solo superstar, to a reality TV icon, to one of the most recognizable figures in rock history, Ozzy Osbourne became more than a musician. He became a story. A messy, painful, beautiful story about failure, fame, family, addiction, love, and survival. And maybe that's the greatest thing about his legacy. He never had to be perfect to become unforgettable.